I'd like to call our City Council meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll, please.
McIver. Here. Marquez.
Here.
Kenny.
Here.
Shower.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Clistic.
Here.
Belzak.
Here.
7 present, none absent.
We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Anyone in the audience can address us. It doesn't have to be on an issue that's on the agenda this evening, but an issue that you'd like to talk about so that you don't have to stick around for the whole meeting. Is anyone in the audience that wants to bring up an issue other than the Sterigenics or the Sterling Bay development?
Is this when we can just
Sure.
just speak to why we're here? Sure. So Matt Lucas, project manager, Sterling Bay Company in Chicago. Excited to be back here. It's been a process.
3 minutes.
About 10 months.
You know what? I always forget. I always forget to make the announcement. We have a 3-minute limitation on every speaker. So.
Mayor, you just said a second ago that other than Sterigenics and Sterling Bay, he's got to sit down. You just said you weren't going to let him on this meeting.
Well, I thought she said what was regarding that.
No, I didn't.
Maybe I
didn't.
misheard.
What I was trying to do was find anybody in the audience that wanted to talk about anything other than those two issues.
Okay.
So I'll have to ask you
I'm
to
sorry
wait.
we misheard you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, then I will allow anyone else that wants to speak, address the city council on any issue. Please come forward to the microphone. Okay. All right, then let's move on to the approval of the minutes of September 17th. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Any additions or deletions for the clerk? Then the roll, please.
Belzak.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Marquez.
Abstain.
Kenny.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 abstention.
The minutes have been approved. The next item is receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications to share? Alderman Clistic?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 quick communications. First one is from a resident at 610 Chippewa, Johanna. She recently had her sprinkler system inspected, and there are a few things that had to be brought up to code. And the concern that she has is the company that we partnered with is telling her that they can only fix the issue through them, that they're unable to fix the check valve themselves or find a different party to do it. So the issue she has is that this Darien Force or whoever we have to inspect these sprinkler systems is telling customers that they have to go through them to have it fixed, which I don't know if that's correct or I don't believe so. I believe you have the option to fix it yourself or find a different company to fix it and then have them come back out and inspect it. But they were telling them that they have to purchase it and have everything fixed through them.
Dan, you want to address that?
Sure. And just to clarify, what you're referring to is the backflow prevention program. The backflow prevention program basically states that any resident or business that has certain devices referred to as reduced pressure zone, RPZs, in other words, backflow preventers, that they need to be inspected on an annual basis. Really, recently a survey went out to all the residents, to all our water customers. Again, we're required to do this by the EPA every 2 or 3 years. So this is another survey that just went out, basically to residents and businesses. And what they need to do is, if they've never done it before, is they need to be in compliance. What does it mean to be in compliance? Number one is they need to have, usually it's a plumber or someone that has a backflow license. They're registered backflow preventer installers / licensed people. BSI is our partner in managing the data management. While BSI might have the opportunity to provide certain vendors. We, the city, provide a list of vendors when it comes to our attention that someone is out of compliance. If you want to give me that information, I'll be more than happy to follow up with the resident and see if there was any type of misunderstanding. But BSI has been with us now for approximately 5 or 6 years.
Okay, but ultimately they could find someone else and then go back to BSI and have them re-inspected. Okay,
Correct. What'll happen is the inspector that's certified to do those backflow preventers will test it, provide a tag, provide the certification to the resident. The resident has the opportunity to forward it back to the city, Mary Belmonte specifically, building department, and we forward it back onto BSI for record management data.
Okay, thank you. And then the second quick comment is for Chief Thomas. Quick thank you for Officer Lorick and Rudy for coming out with the canine. Block party was success. Everyone appreciated it, and it really spotlights the hard work and hard effort our police force does. So thank you for coming out and building community relationships.
Alderman MacGyver?
First of all, I'm going to also thank the police officers that came to our block party a week ago Saturday. However, I guess we were gypped because we did not get the canine, so I don't know what's going on necessarily. And then to Dan, how does a resident know if they have a home that has does every home have a backflow prevention device, or how would they know if they have it if they've recently moved in?
Typically, any residential, in a residential format, it's usually with an irrigation system. Irrigation system, if they also have heat pumps or anything that's referred to as geothermal, that may refer back to the water system. So any type of mechanical device that's not customary, again, irrigation system, a boiler system, those types of devices require our backflow preventers.
What if the irrigation system has its own separate metering system? Does it still have a backflow preventer, or is that a different situation?
That's independent of the backflow. Every system does need a backflow preventer.
Yes.
And then I was also contacted by a resident, not in my ward, regarding an Airbnb situation in Darien Club. And yeah, so, and it's advertised as I didn't realize we had villas in Darien, but apparently we do. And so the question was, I guess the Darien Club has a homeowners association, and that's against their regulations. However, I guess, can we provide an update of the city's policy, what we can and can't do with respect to Airbnb situations?
The answer is yes, and they're not allowed. Basically, what it refers back to zoning on families, and the families basically, if they're not of blood, more than 2 people, not of blood relative, of blood relationship, then it's considered an illegal occupant.
Okay, so what should they contact the police then?
No, they should contact us, and we'll make sure that, we'll follow up with the police department if we need to do any type of additional surveillance per se.
So just call City Hall during business hours?
Yes, and they can call me directly
Or Dan.
or Steve Manning.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Other communications?
Yeah, I've got a grocery list. Melinda Novak in Brookhaven, there was a container of water up behind their shop, and it had some labels on it, made it look like it was toxic, but it was actually water for landscaping. Mr. Gombeck took care of that. I've got a couple communications from a Kathy Konke, Drew Kelly, Stephen Leopoldo, and Diane Melical, all about the Sterling Bay project. And that's all I got.
Alderman Vaughn?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have one communication between Sarah Koza. She reached out to ask how can we make 67th and Clarendon Hills Road safer. She reached out about maybe some speed bumps on 67th Street or something to make that street safer. I reached out to Dan. Dan replied back. He said they'll do a traffic study.
Yeah.
And I think we were all on that email as well. So,
Yeah.
how are we coming along with that traffic study, Dan?
Currently, we have the police, what do you call that, the speed limit, the speed monitor up there.
The radars.
Yeah. The flashing light that tells you how fast you're going.
Correct.
Yeah. I know years ago we talked about speed humps. Because of the type of street it is, I think we would be hard pressed to put them there, but Dan, you can address that.
Sure. And basically what we did is we're trying to find the last updated traffic study. The one I have is from 2011, but I believe we did one in 2014. So 2011 or 2014, there was significant speeders. After we put up these speed alerts, it's been reduced by approximately 5% on both lanes. There is some limited speeding in regards to, I just spoke to another resident today who would like to have his sign moved. Unfortunately, based on what we're looking at, we're not going to be moving it. We'll work with the resident, let them know what's going on and why. Number two was in regards to the speed hump. I was just going over the criteria today. One of the criteria is anything that has a limit of more than 300 vehicles, I believe it's 300 vehicles per day, would not qualify for a speed hump. After looking at those reports, without not getting into it, they're well in excess of 300 cars per hour or per day, I believe it is. So
Is it
I'll be following
possible? Is it possible to put some awareness bumps, like when you're navigating off the side of the road, like on the highway, where you hear those
The rumble strips?
Yeah, the bumble strips. Is that something we can look into?
I'm not sure
Just
that.
to keep people aware that they are approaching like a stop sign, and there's been some recent accidents there, but I think it'll bring some awareness.
Yeah, which portion of 67th Street are you talking about?
The east and westbound, coming
Well-
from Route 83, I believe,
Between Clarendon Hills Road and Route 83?
Yeah.
That's
That's
not
and
ours.
the other side of Clarendon Hills Road, both sides.
Well, the one side is not our jurisdiction. That becomes Willowbrook's jurisdiction.
Okay, all right.
Everything to the west of Clarendon Hills Road is our jurisdiction. And like I said, we've seen some significant progress, if you want to say, based on what we've done. We could also, and again, again, you got me while I'm just developing the report, so I don't have all the statistics, but our goal was to put something together, inform the two residents we've been in contact with, talk to the police department as far as, doing some additional surveillance, see when the problems are occurring, and going from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, what time schedule are you looking at?
I'm
this
probably
report?
looking about a week and a half to have that report, just call
For our
it a
next
memo.
council meeting, then
Okay, great.
could have that.
Thank you, Dan.
Any other communications to share? Okay, then we'll move to the mayor's report. The first item on the agenda under the mayor's report is the Fire Prevention Month, and I have a proclamation to read into the record for Fire Prevention Month. Whereas smoke and poisonous gases are the leading causes of death in fires and can kill a person long before the flames will, and whereas underestimating the power of the fire and the time it takes to escape a home fire puts people at severe risk of fire death and injury, and whereas developing a home fire escape plan and practicing it at least twice a year is critical to escape a fire safely, and whereas making sure that multi-story homes and commercial buildings are equipped with working smoke detectors and fire alarms, and whereas a complete home escape plan, which includes each household member knowing 2 ways out of each room, designating an outdoor location to meet when out of the house, and remembering the local fire emergency phone number, and whereas NFPA, the official sponsor of fire prevention, has documented many lives saved as a result of having all homes in Illinois equipped with smoke detectors, and whereas the fire services are dedicated to the safety of lives and property from the devastating effects of fire, and whereas the members of the fire service are joined by other concerned citizens, as well as other emergency service providers, safety advocates, businesses, schools, service clubs, and organizations in their fire safety efforts, and whereas fire prevention commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which killed more than 250 people, left 100,000 homeless, and destroyed more than 17,400 buildings. And whereas for nearly 80 years, NFPA has successfully joined North American fire departments each year during Fire Prevention Week in a shared mission of making the public safer from fire. Now, therefore, I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Fire Prevention Month and urge the residents of the City of Darien to participate in fire prevention activities at work and school to ensure their safety and the safety of their families and friends in the event of a fire. Do we have anyone here to accept this proclamation this evening? Okay, then we'll get it to the proper people. The next item under the mayor's report is our annual financial report. We have Jason Askin with us this evening to do his presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. On behalf of SICICH, I'd like to thank the City Council for the opportunity to present the results of the audit for the year ended April 30th, 2018. There's 3 documents included in the board packet that we'll be reviewing briefly tonight: the annual financial report, the auditor's communication with the mayor and the members of City Council, and the management letter. And before we get started, just a little background on our audit process and timeline. We began the audit in February of 2018 with a planning meeting. We conducted our preliminary fieldwork in April, followed by final fieldwork in June. The first drafts of the reports were delivered in July, and the Finance Committee met in September to review those drafts in detail and approve those financial statements. So the final step is the formal presentation of the audit results to the City Council here tonight. So the first document that I'd like to review with you all is the annual financial report. If you're following along on the agenda, it's item 8B, and there's a hyperlink if you're following along electronically. Just past the cover, you'll see there's a table of contents. The annual financial report consists of an introductory section as well as a financial section, consisting of management's discussion and analysis, the independent auditor's report, the basic financial statements, as well as the combining and individual fund financial statements and the supplemental data. On page 1 of the annual financial report document is the independent auditor's report, is pages 1 and 2 of the document. And it states that we've audited the financial statements of the City of Darien as of and for the year ended April 30th, 2018. The second paragraph on page 1 reminds the reader that management's responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and the auditor's responsibility is expression of an opinion on these financial statements as a result of our audit, based on the results of our audit. At the top of page 2 is the actual opinion paragraph, which states that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. This opinion is known as a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion. It's the highest level of opinion you can receive for an audit under generally accepted auditing standards, so it's a very good accomplishment to receive an unmodified opinion, and we commend the city for that. Paragraphs 2 and 3 on page 2 just remind the reader that we do not audit the required supplementary information or the supplemental data that's presented in this report. The next section of the report is the management's discussion and analysis, beginning on page MD&A 1. The management's discussion and analysis, or MD&A for short, provides the reader with comparative financial information that's derived from the basic financial statements, along with management's discussion and analysis of changes and issues impacting the city during the year, or that may impact the city in the future. So it's a very, very useful section of the document to read because it provides not only the financial data, but also some discussion and analysis to help the reader analyze that data. The first of the basic financial statements can be seen on page 4. It starts with the statement of net position, followed by the statement of activities on page 5. The statement of net position and the statement of activities is the city's full accrual balance sheet and income statement. It's presented on the full accrual basis of accounting and the economic resources measurement focus, and this means that it includes all of the capital assets and long-term debt of the city. On page 6, about 3/4 of the way down, you'll note that the city ended the year with an increase in net position in governmental activities of approximately $1 million, and business type activities, or the water fund, of approximately $1 million as well. The governmental funds balance sheet and statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance can be seen on pages 7 and 9. This is the city's balance sheet and income statement for the city's governmental funds. The difference between these statements and the ones we looked at previously is that these are presented on the modified accrual basis of accounting and the current financial resources measurement focus. So they're more short-term in nature. They don't include capital assets and long-term debt. About 3/4 of the way down on page 9, you can see that the city's governmental funds ended the year with an increase in fund balance of approximately $1 million, and the general fund had ending fund balance of approximately $4.3 million, which represents about 3 months of operating expenses, so a very healthy general fund balance. Pages 11 and 12 are the balance sheet and income statement for the water fund. And pages 14 and 15 is the statement of fiduciary net position and the statement of changes in fiduciary net position, which is the city's police pension trust fund. On page 15, about halfway down, you can see that the police pension fund had a net investment income of approximately $1.9 million, which represents about a 7% rate of return on pension fund investments, and ended the year with an overall increase in net position. The notes to the financial statements can be seen on pages 16 to 49 of this document. They provide the reader with more information on the capital assets, long-term debt, and other information that's presented in these financial statements. And they also include all the required footnotes and disclosures that are required by both Government Accounting Standards Board and generally accepted accounting principles. The GASB's been busy the last couple of years. You might recall that we implemented GASB 68 several years ago related to pensions, and last year we implemented GASB 72 and 77 related to tax abatements and fair value measurements. This year there were no new GASBs to implement, so the content and form of the notes is very consistent with previous years, no significant changes. So they gave us a year off as far as new GASBs, new GASB implementation goes. And that's just some really quick overall highlights of the annual financial report. Increase in net position for governmental activities, water fund, and the pension fund, and a clean unmodified opinion on this annual financial report. So a good year for the city. Any questions on the annual financial report before we look at the auditor's communication, the other two documents?
I guess not. Well, I guess we can move to the next document.
Okay.
Just one quick question. Last year when we did an audit, it was brought up that we forgot to get payments from our cell phone tower service. Has that been captured this time?
Yeah, there's a receivable for those that's
Okay.
presented here, and Finance did a spreadsheet of all the leases.
Okay. So going forward, we'll be able to check that we're getting
Correct.
paid
So
for
that's-
our leases
That's a work
for.
paper in the audit, and
Okay.
Julie looks at that
Okay.
at least
Awesome.
annually.
But we've put those all on our accounting receivables, so it's all computerized now, and it generates automatically.
So they get an invoice so that they get billed.
Yes.
'Cause that was the root cause of the issue before of not being invoiced. So awesome. Great job.
Yep, thank you. So the second document we'll look at pretty briefly is the auditor's communication to the mayor and the members of city council. These are the required communications that we're required to make at the conclusion of the audit with the city council. On page 2 of the document, under qualitative aspects of accounting principle, it just again reminds the reader that management's responsible for the selection and use of appropriate accounting policies, and there were no new accounting policies adopted, and the application of existing policies weren't changed. So there were no new GASBs is basically what it's saying. On page 3, we're happy to report that we didn't encounter any difficulties in dealing with management. All the information that requested during the audit was in good order and provided to us in a timely manner, so that's very good. There were no disagreements with management over accounting matters included in this financial report. As part of the audit, we're required to communicate any corrected and uncorrected misstatements that we note or adjustments that we propose to the financial information that's presented to us at the beginning of the audit, and those are detailed on pages 5 through 9 of this document. And then the final document that we have to review tonight is the city's management letter. As part of the audit, we're required to gain an understanding and evaluate the city's internal controls over financial reporting. And we're pleased to report that during our audit, we did not note any deficiencies that are considered to be material weaknesses. So overall, very positive audit results, clean unmodified opinion, like I said previously, and no material weaknesses. So it's very good. Any questions on either of the other two documents, the auditor's communication with the city council? or the management letter?
Sorry, Jason.
You've got dually microphones there.
No, I just want to thank you for your service. Sikich has been performing our annual audit now for probably in excess of 10 years, I believe, and it's been a great relationship. They're on the ball, as he indicated. Our year end is April 30th, but we do start our planning in February. They're out there even before April 30th, checking our procedures and everything, and then they get out fairly quickly. I think we've accelerated the timing of getting our audit by approximately a month in that time period, and we've worked pretty well together. So I want to thank your firm for your service. And
Thank you.
And Mike, as the auditors come out year to year, we have had Sikich for a while, but they send different people out. Maybe you can
right,
mention
yeah,
that.
the partners have changed a couple of times, and Jason has changed a couple of times.
This is my fourth complete year, I believe.
So we're just getting a different set of eyes also.
Right,
on a
yeah,
almost
because
annual basis.
Lou Reginelli, I believe, was the first partner. Now it's Jim Savio. Jim did the presentation at the Finance Committee meeting last month, and yeah, I think this meeting is a little too late. That's why he sends Jason. Who's
Jim usually has vacation. I think this last week, or he takes a long weekend or something every year. So he does the Finance Committee meeting, and I do the City Council meeting. That's the arrangement we have.
Yeah, Jason's been on our account for several years now, at least 3 or 4 years,
This
I
is the
believe.
fourth one, I believe.
Yeah.
So any questions at all? Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Let's move to the city clerk's report.
I have one item, Madam Mayor. I'd like to remind residents that the local City of Darien election materials are ready to be picked up here at City Hall. The election date, the consolidated election date, is April 2nd of 2019. The positions that are available, they are 4-year terms: mayor, clerk, treasurer, alderman ward 2, 4, and 6. And candidates are encouraged to seek the advice of legal counsel before filing nomination papers, which must be in apparent conformity with the election code. And the first day to file is December 10th of 2018 at 8:30 a.m. And the last day to file is December 17th of 2018 at 5 p.m. And normal business hours here at City Hall are Monday through Friday from 8:30 until 5. Thank you.
No meet the mayor?
Oh, she forgot. We will be having Meet the Mayor on October 15th.
Right.
At 6 p.m. upstairs in the conference room.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. City administrators report.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Department head information. Chief, do you have a report to give us?
No report. May answer any questions anybody may
Any
have.
questions for the chief? Dan Gombeck, any questions for Dan? Dan, do you have a report?
No, ma'am. No, Madam Mayor.
How do we come in under budget on our Plainfield Road project?
We're putting all the numbers together right now, so by within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have a good sense of our capital projects, and I plan on presenting those to the Municipal Services Committee. Obviously, unaudited, Mr. Corrin.
Surprise, surprise.
One quick question for Chief Thomas. With regards to the hotel, someone mentioned to me there have been quite a bit of calls when it first opened up. I'm just curious if that's still the case, or has that gone down last year with regards to just general 911 calls or disturbances?
Which hotel are you talking about?
The one on Frontage Road, right across from Miskatonic.
No, North
Frontage Road. Correct. Just someone mentioned that there used to be a lot of calls and that have gone down. So I'm just curious if we just general.
Yeah, I had done a report for another alderman, MacGyver, and as I recall, that data, it was probably like 3 or 4 months ago, and it had gone down.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Then let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 181911, the amount of $553,946.72 from the listed funds. Payroll for the period ended September 27th in the amount of $266,616.05 for a total to be approved of $820,562.77.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman MacGyver, seconded by Alderman Shower. Any questions for the treasurer? Then the roll, please.
MacGyver.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The warrant has been approved. Let's move to standing committee reports. Alderman Marquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last Monday, the Municipal Services Committee approved the minutes of the August 27th, 2018 meeting, submitted those to the clerk's office, and the next meeting of Municipal Services is Monday, October 22nd, 2018 at 6:30 here in the council chambers.
Alderman Schauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The minutes from the September 4th, 2018 Admin Finance meeting were approved at tonight's meeting and submitted to the clerk's office. And our next Admin Finance meeting will be held on Monday, November 5th at 6 p.m. in our upstairs meeting room.
Alderman MacGyver.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next meeting of the Darien Police Committee will be Monday, October, is it the 15th?
What was that?
Monday, October 15th, is it?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 weeks from today at 6 p.m. in the Police Department Training Room, pending agenda items.
Thank you. Let's move to questions, comments, and agenda related. First of all, do any of the aldermen, I think we've discussed everything that you wanted to in our work session. So I'll open it to the residents that are here to speak to the city council on the items that are on the agenda this evening. We do have a 3-minute limitation on speaking, and we would hope that we not get a lot of repetition if someone states pretty much your position, that we could move on to another speaker who has some different opinions. So I would open it up to the floor.
My name's Steve Leopoldo. I was going to put comment tonight, but I just decided not to. But I have someone far braver than me that's willing to speak up and say what I think a lot of us are feeling. So this is my daughter, Anna. She has asthma. We're having a little bit of a flare-up right now, too. So, but Anna, go ahead and let them know what you wanted to say.
I wanted to say we shouldn't have this truck facility here because it will hurt our breathing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I had asthma as a child, too, so I know exactly what you're going through. Numerous doctor appointments, so hang in there. It will get better. Did anyone else want to address the city council?
Hello. Nice to see you again. I am Daniel Hebriard, and I'm
What is your last name?
Hebriard.
Hebriard. Okay.
Hebriard,
I didn't.
yes.
I didn't make it out last time.
Okay. Daniel Hebriard. I am a senior ranger with a degree in Parks and Recreation and MBA. And as we talked about last time, I am running for Forest Reserve President. And full disclosure, I want to thank this board because I really like to hear the discussions that go on. I appreciate your transparency. I appreciate that you listen to each other. So I'd like to just mention that not every board does that. So thank you for doing that. Continue doing that. One of the things that caught me earlier in the pre-meeting discussion was the land that the Forest Reserve gobbled up, obviously, next to the proposal for the truck facility. And obviously, one of the reasons that we took on that land, and one of the many reasons we take on a lot of our parcels, is water control, flood control, waterways. Obviously, there is this Bluff Creek running through that parcel, so we're excited to own that parcel, as we do much of the parcels that contain that creek around Waterfall Glen. I'm certainly concerned about a lot of things, but I've talked to you about some of the things, so I wanted to bring something different to your attention. Of course, obviously, waterways, that is part of the Des Plaines River watershed. We are concerned always about the EPA, Illinois EPA, US EPA, of course, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, about the health of our waterways. So just want to make sure you're factoring that in to your decisions tonight and your discussions. And the final thing is, you did talk about, we did acquire that property. In the past, we had discussions to acquire the property that is now for sale with the Sterling Bay development. We did not. But I think myself and even my opponent would be willing to listen to proposals to partner with the city of Darien, to partner with Sterling Bay. And those proposals are collaborative government. And that's when government works best, is when people get together do the right things, listen to each other, and work together for the best solution. So that is my hope for the city of Darien, for the Forest Preserve, and for this development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Richard Cush. I am a resident of Darien. I've lived here for many years. I work Aragon Laboratories. I was an engineer. I'm very familiar with the numbers and the comparisons and how many acres there is. I can visualize that acreage. Maybe I can give you a comparison to those that are here. So if you think about the shopping center over at the Darien Center, so that area, there's a variety of different stores. That's Walmart, that's Home Depot. They have some restaurants and some other buildings there, right? So that whole area is about 30 acres, right? That's a number I got from City Hall. Now Sterling Bay is looking for 10 acres. So if you visualize that, that's about a third of that shopping center, right? Is how big that Sterling Bay is going to be. And that's a huge amount. That could be 31 trucks parked there in a parking lot. That means a lot of traffic. If we talk about this little girl's asthma problems, the breathing problems, there's going to be a lot coming in the air through that. Right, there's a lake just west of here. If you drive down on Plainfield Road, right in that area, there's a big lake. It's a very pretty lake out there. That land size is 14 acres. Again, I got that number from City Halls. So if you think about the shopping mall, you think about the lake, you'd be able to put the whole entire Sterling Bay within that lake. And that just, it's too huge of an area. I'm very adamantly against having Sterling Bay here and its effects. I did send an email to you, Mayor Weaver. I hope that you've gone through that email stating that we here in the city of Darien are blessed to have our city placed in a location with a borderline of the forest preserve, this beautiful natural environment of waterfall land. And we do want to keep that beautiful and not allow Sterling Bay to run business and have their trucks in that space. It will spoil our beautiful natural economy right here. One other thing, I know it's a little bit aside from this, right? This book, Darien, Guardian Angel of Jesus. I was wondering if possibly that's where we got our name. This is a name of an actual angel. Again, the Guardian of Jesus. It is a fictional story, by the way, but it's written by Roger Elwood. He's written many other books, but he picked this name out of any different city names. He picked Darien, and I want to make sure that we can honor our Darien name and keeping it beautiful, the same as this man has done in his book. We are blessed with this name, Darien. I want to make sure that we continue with that. Thank you very much.
Actually, our name came, the city of Darien's name came from the suggestion of one of the founding fathers of Darien, Sam Kelly, when we were incorporating back in December of 1969. That name came up. I'm not sure if Sam lived in Darien, Connecticut, but that's where he brought that name from. So that's the history behind Darien.
They pronounce it different, too, don't
I
they?
did hear that as well.
They pronounce it different? Darien as opposed
No,
to
no,
Darien?
you're talking about Wisconsin, where it's Darien.
Okay.
That's a town in Wisconsin, but no, we pronounce it the same way as we pronounce it here.
And we did
It-
have a call about 3 years ago, and somebody went on and on about 15 minutes yelling at us for something, but it was for Darien, Connecticut.
Connecticut, yes.
They had the wrong Darien, it wasn't us, but
Yes. Does anyone else want to address the city council?
Good evening. My name is Shelby. I just moved to Darien in March, so this is my first city council meeting. And both of my kids are in schools that are close to the Sterigenics facility, so I'm concerned about that. Concord Elementary is just within close to a mile radius of Sterigenics, and now is going to be about 3,000 feet from this facility. And I know I'm a science teacher, so I teach a little bit about some of these subjects about air pollution. And I'm not going to claim to be any kind of expert about it, but I do know that diesel exhaust emissions are significantly worse than petrol burning vehicle emissions. And there are many pollutants that are of concern to me. My 5-year-old has asthma. My 3.5-year-old has asthma. It's seasonal asthma that they haven't diagnosed as asthma because they can't do that until they're after their five-year mark. But they have been hospitalized for it before, and the time when they were hospitalized was after an ozone action day. And ozone, you may or may not know, there's good up, high, bad nearby. The bad nearby ozone is created from NOx, which is nitrogen oxide, which is an emission that has not been significantly reduced from diesel emissions, whereas petrol burning vehicles, it's been significantly reduced. So it's about 20 times higher in diesel burning emissions than from petrol burning vehicles. And there are lots of other compounds of concern. Carbon monoxide it's there, but it's apparently not that high. And sulfur emissions, thankfully, have been dramatically reduced from diesel burning because they use usually low sulfur diesel now. But particulate emissions, particulate matter, which is very fine soot. There's the fine particles that lodge deeper in the lungs, and then the larger particulate matter, of which diesel exhaust has both. And that is, diesel exhaust itself is considered to be a class 1 carcinogen, just as ethylene oxide is from the Sterigenics facility. And then there are many different compounds that are released from diesel emissions, such as benzene, beryllium compounds, cadmium, arsenic, benzene, formaldehyde, toluene. The 5 first ones that I listed are all considered to be class 1 carcinogens. So I'm concerned about that. I guess obviously I wouldn't be as concerned as if it weren't so close to my kids' school. Obviously I want to be a proponent of health in our community, but it hits me hard when I'm not even typically an advocate or an activist, but I've been advocating against the Sterigenics issue, and I'm trying to remain very logical about it. I always tell my students to evaluate all of the facts and don't, just try to blame every health condition on something that you say is now in the air. I understand that they've dramatically reduced their emissions recently, back in July, but I know that being close to the highway, especially within close to 1,000 feet of the highway, is already a concern, and now we're gonna be 3,000 feet. So that's,
Shelby,
I know I'm
okay.
overdoing it here.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but we do have a 3-minute
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
limitation. But thank you for addressing us.
Were you able to speak now?
I believe so, yes.
I had a point of clarification. I wanted to ask several questions to the city attorney regarding the workshop in terms of procedure tonight, but I also had some prepared remarks that I wanted to share with the council about Sterling Bay and the business plan that we have for this property. Can I ask the questions now without using my 3 minutes for the night? How does that work?
This is interesting. Why should we wait till the issue is on the agenda, or up for vote? To discuss it? Yeah, just go over. We'll let you address those questions when we bring, well, we don't usually do that, no. When the item is on the agenda.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes there's a presentation. That's what Dan and I were talking about.
That's
we haven't done a developer presentation.
That's what's
that
stymieing me
has
as to where
happened,
to.
so that's a little bit different.
Where to fit you in.
I just had some points of clarification regarding the 11th hour suggestion that I just wanted to clear up how we were addressing that, and I can do that later. we can talk about Sterling Bay as well, however you prefer.
Talk about Sterling Bay.
Okay, great. Well, like I said earlier, we're happy to be back. Mayor Weaver, aldermen, alderwomen, thank you for your patience in this process and your listening to all involved. Again, just really a lot of gratitude for staff and all of the various committees and councils helping us through this process. And every time I feel like our project has changed, but we've tried to incorporate things so as to really consider the impacts on folks that have addressed some fair concerns and some things that we disagree with, but it's all good discussion. We've retooled our project significantly. I want to tell you about everything we've added. We've lowered the height. We are within all zoning codes. We've doubled our landscaping budget to over 200 trees. We've got motion detectors on all the lighting for dark sky and all of our parking, so it's not on anytime other than the motion at night. All traffic flows have been studied and modified. The retail example that was given earlier, retail actually generates far, far more vehicles per day, traffic volume. We're adding electric vehicle charging stations as a method of green technology. And we're upgrading the frontage road paving, the striping, and we're also helping the city municipal services upgrade the facility. That's a $50,000 contribution. We've helped Mr. Gombach with budgeting and just planning of that. I would also say early on in this process, addressing the parcel thing, we had talked with the city about potentially building a municipal services facility and utilizing some of the space. Ultimately, we took that plan to market, and what the feedback we got was we would not be able to do a lease of that nature. It was not the price of the land did not justify doing that deal. And so I just want to consider the market telling us things as well when we're making some of the assumptions about engineering and the environment. But what I will say is we went to three environmental engineering firms, 3 reputable firms. We said, does this warrant an economic impact statement? No, this is far too small. What about the trucks? The IEPA has complete jurisdiction over the truck licenses, the emissions, their standards, participating in upgrades, et cetera. So we're kind of mixing apples and oranges here. I'd love to tell you more about Sterling Bay. I'm short on time. But last time I felt like we wanted to address some of these issues, but we didn't want to be argumentative. We didn't bring attorneys tonight. We're not here to argue. We're here to build a project. We're here to tell you more about Sterling Bay. And we're not looking for a reason to get into a debate. And so we're here to try to participate in the community process.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll ask you when we have the motion before us to address your questions.
Good evening. My name's Chuck Fisher, and I'm sorry to have to do this, but here we are again.
You understand we have a 3-minute limit.
What motivated that?
Pardon me?
Yes, of course. Everybody said it repeatedly.
I just
Don't
want to
let this
remind
be
you.
part of my 3 minutes. Don't start out argumentative. I want to just deal with some facts. Little kid came up here. Asthma. Many people in the community have respiratory diseases. I don't want to make this emotional. I want to make this scientific and logical. Scientist comes up here. She tells you A, B, C. This isn't debatable. Particulate matter causes cancer. Now, you said one time, Mr. Joe, it wouldn't affect the kids in the school. You're wrong. There's somebody there that can tell you you're wrong. Now let's take a couple of things that nobody discusses. How many trucks? How many trucks a day?
Would you please?
What kind of trucks?
Please talk to us.
What kind of trucks? How many trucks a day? Is this a 7-day-a-week operation? Is this a 24-day-a-week operation? Do you not understand that this will kill the forest preserve? So I don't want to take up your valuable time, but I will say this. You have proven yourselves to be scientifically illiterate if you support this. This is not debatable. scientifically illiterate, and intellectually bankrupt, and your names will be on this, and someone dies from a truck, can't stop in the snow, the blood is on your hands, and the kids who can't breathe are on your hands.
Thank you for
questions.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor, I'll ask for permission to speak. Thank you. So, Madam Mayor and Darien leadership and the Darien residents, Burbridge residents, Willowbrook residents, everyone who uses. So full disclosure, I'm actually running for Forest Preserve Commissioner, and my biggest concern has been so far, I'm just going to run through the facts. No study has been submitted on forest preserve and impact on wildlife. Traffic study involves current state of traffic. It does not include data of projected fulfillment center. If it includes fulfillment center, it can bring up to 282,000 trucks, and it's a known fact. If it's a fulfillment center, I'm going to say big if. Number 3, no noise pollution study has been submitted. It is warranted by IEPA and Department of Natural Resources. No air quality study has been submitted. I haven't seen it, unfortunately. What if we are creating next Sterigenics at facility? There are no restrictions on who can occupy this facility as of now. Do we have an ordinance on carcinogen processing? So from 30 to 40 years later, if someone comes up and says that there was a facility at this facility has caused the health concerns, who are we going to answer to? Long-term and a short-term storage goods. We don't even know how long they're going to store the goods for short-term or long-term because there is a classification for it. We don't even know what kind of class of vehicles they will be operating. So for example, I just pulled it up this morning from Department of Transportation. There are class 13 vehicles, 5-axle tractors, semi-tractors, 6 axles, class 11, class 12. We don't know what kind of class out of 13 classes we are going to be operating from this facility. So this is my humble request. Please appeal to the data. Please appeal to the science. And health and risk-benefit analysis will tell you from any engineer, any scientist, that this is not worth ruining the Waterfall Glen and city of Darien. So please, please, please put a pause on it. Ask for more data. What's the harm in delaying it by 2 months, 3 months? Put them to homework. You are the officials. We, as constituents, elected you to give power to you to question for us. We are not questioning. We are celebrating. Oh, thank you for bringing this beautiful facility. It is beautiful, of course, but it just does not belong there. That is my humble request. The location is bad. I am all for growth personally. I am all about business. I manage $4.2 million facilities at medical facilities. I have 16 employees under me. I am pro-business, but this is not morally good business to put warehouse and 31 truck terminals without studying the data. So thank you so much for your time. It was my humble request, so hopefully we can take into consideration of a lot of brains and the constituents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Alderman. My concern has been for traffic count from the beginning. You've heard this. It may sound like it's getting old. The statistics I look at, adjusted for a 157,000 square foot distribution center like this, says we can have 588,000 trucks and vehicles, okay, going through this facility. So the question, I have some questions here. I don't know if I'll get answers to these questions or not. First off, does the city council, and you don't have to answer these now, and I hope you might though, because we don't know. We don't know what you have been told, and we can sometimes overreact and sometimes very appropriately react. Does the city council approve the tenant? I'm assuming the answer is no, okay? That's a big issue. The tenant could be like the tenant at Panatonic with a very low impact, which is a term that was used by Sterling Bay, or it could be an extremely high impact on this location. Do you have a constraint on the traffic counts that are allowed? My understanding, having talked to planning and zoning people, including attorneys, you can put a restriction. And you can monitor that, and there can be penalties associated with that. What is the maximum number of trucks and vehicles? Well, you have to be more general. I'll try not to use the word truck. Vehicles that are going to be going down, up and down South Frontage Road and Clarendon Hills Road. Okay? Do you have a mechanism for enforcing this, even if you have it in there? It's possible to have that. Do you have an identified tenant? Apparently not. Again, my understanding is you don't have any of these. So how do you have control on what's going to happen there? You've assumed an extraordinary risk here. Okay? There are safety issues. That's what I do as a professional. My profession has to do with relative risk ratios. The risk is going to go up dramatically. The risk is quite low for a traffic fatality there. It'll go up dramatically. All right. What we do know is definitely going to happen is we have very large traffic counts. The whole area is going to suffer in terms of the things that have been mentioned previously. Property values are going to go down. I hear my residents talking about $150,000 of tax money coming in. My understanding is only a fraction of that will enter your budget. You might clarify that for us, okay? What's the impact of property values going down? People starting to bail, if in fact their traffic counts are very high. You need to put a restriction on traffic counts. We'd much prefer that you can this project. Thank you.
Sir, yes, yeah, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I had a big speech planned, and then I threw it away. My comments tonight are just for Ted. My boy thinks of your family as family, Ted. I want you to think about him tonight when you vote. Are you sure that there's going to be no adverse impact on our families? Can we do any more research for them to come back with tenants? If they're low impact, then fine, they're low impact. But are we sure? That's all I have to say.
Do me a favor and tell John I said hello, okay?
Sorry?
Tell John I said hello.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments, Drew.
Hi, I'm Kyle Levinson. I grew up in Darien. I now live in Willowbrook. And I just wanted to speak out for the people who, you know, ride the 15-pound, 20-pound vehicles in the area. You know, we're going to be going up against these semis. And we need 3 feet of room. So I hope we're going to get that over in that area. You know, every morning people ride their bikes right down that frontage road. Some of us ride right down there, and then we ride right into Waterfall Glen. You know, because people are riding adventure bikes now. These are built to go off-road and on-road. So 6,000 miles last year. Worried about my lungs. You know, now I live in Willowbrook, so really worried about my lungs. So this stuff seems to be getting in everywhere around me right now. So I'm kind of upset. I'm sorry I'm kind of coming across a little emotional, but this isn't the area I grew up in. This isn't what we want to make it, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
Hello, Mayor Weaver and Council. My name is Joanna Klistek. I live in Darien. I lived in Darien since 2011. We moved here because Darien is a great place to live. We're certainly very concerned right now if it's a great place to live. I'm here to talk about 2 things, Sternergetics and this warehouse proposal. First of all, Sternergetics. In my daughter's class, there's already a child that's 4 years old that is diagnosed with leukemia. So absolutely we have to fight Sternergetics, and we should be banning ethylene oxide. As far as the warehouse project, well, I urge you to reconsider. I understand that businesses are needed, but unfortunately, I don't know if this is the right business. I don't know if you really have enough information to know the impact of what this community is going to look like 30 years from now because of the decision you're going to make today. So I really urge you to either delay the vote, get more information, or vote no tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to address the council? As long as Joanna Klistic brought that up, it reminded me I didn't bring up a letter that just was sent out today from the village of Willowbrook, which was signed by myself and Mayor Straub of Burr Ridge and Mayor Trilla. The letter was addressed to Governor Rauner regarding Sterigenics in Willowbrook, asking him to jump into this whole issue because he has the authority to make a difference on this issue. And for the two items that we're asking him to follow up on is to require the Illinois EPA or the U.S. EPA to immediately provide definitive evidence and a statement that the emission of ethylene oxide from Sterigenics facility in Willowbrook does not threaten the health of those living and working in southeast DuPage, or take action to immediately shut down Sterigenics facility pending further analysis by the state of Illinois. So that letter, I'm sure we're going to have that on our Direct Connect this week, but that's another step that all of us mayors are taking in order to make a difference and to do something on behalf of our residents to make sure we have a safe area to live in. But that just reminded me with those comments. Is there anyone else that wants to address the City Council? Then I'd like to move on to old business. And there being no old business, I'll move right to the consent agenda. And it's a lengthy, there's items A through L. And please bear with me because I have to read these for the viewing audience so they understand what we're voting on this evening. Item A is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of new office equipment from Villa Park Office Equipment using Department of Justice award money in the amount of $23,018.94. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution adopting the DuPage County Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution waiving the competitive bid process and accepting proposals for the hardware and software updates from the following: Stenstrom Petroleum Services for the fuel management hardware and software update in an amount not to exceed $11,206. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution waiving the competitive bid process and accepting the proposals for the hardware and software updates for the following: computerized fleet analysis, CFA software, CFA hardware and software update in an amount not to exceed $23,682. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Associated Technical Services Limited for the 2018 water leak survey in the amount of $9,472.32 for the leak detection phase and a per unit cost for the leak location phase in the amount of $420 per main line or service leak, and a $95 charge per fire hydrant leak or mainline valve, for a total amount not to exceed $14,500. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution waiving the competitive bidding process and authorizing the purchase of the following de-icing and anti-icing equipment: the liquid de-icer dispenser and sprayer model CP50RC, electrical kit, plumbing kit, and freight cost from GVM Inc. in an amount not to exceed $12,647. And that includes equipment is $8,000. The electrical kit is $2,612. The plumbing kit is $535, and delivery is $1,500. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of the following de-icing and anti-icing equipment: 6,100-gallon storage tank from GVM Inc. in an amount not to exceed $4,783. And the next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of the following de-icing and anti-icing products. De-icing and anti-icing chemical product ThermaPoint R from Industrial Systems Limited. The total cost would be in the amount of not to exceed $14,980. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of the following de-icing and anti-icing equipment. Anti-icing equipment, pre-wet ice control equipment from Industrial Systems Limited. For the total cost would be an amount not to exceed $4,995. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution waiving the competitive bidding process and authorizing the purchase of the following de-icing and anti-icing products, which is the pre-treated salt GeoMelt 55 from SNI Solutions for the total cost of amount not to exceed $12,600, which translates out into 840 tons times $15 per ton. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Allied Door, Inc. for the removal and replacement of 5 garage bay doors, hardware, and including motor controllers at the Public Works facility located at 1041 South Frontage Road in an amount not to exceed $26,349.82. The last item is a motion authorizing the city to initiate a proposal to amend the text of the zoning code section 5A-2-2-3G for the purposes of updating the variation criteria. Do I have a motion to approve all of those items? Alderman Schauer, seconded by Alderman Belzak. The roll, please.
Schauer.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
7 ayes and no nays.
All of the items have been approved. Let's move to new business. And
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
While it was under the consent agenda, just so people understand because they may not know this, and since we have a lot of people concerned about chemicals and their use, the pre-treated treated salt GeoMelt and the de-icing and anti-icing chemical product are all agricultural products. None of them presents any type of hazard to residents. So just so people know that.
Yeah. And they're applied to the roadways when you're expecting some snow coming, which will allow better driving conditions once the snow starts to fall, if I understand that correctly.
That's correct. Also
Yes.
reducing overtime potentially and labor.
And less use of salt as well.
Correct.
So that's not
Yes.
going
All
to
of
be
the
harming the
above.
grass and everything
So
else.
we're taking a new step forward in using these products to further enhance our snow removal.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Let's move to new business, and for item A, we're splitting that up between item A and B. The first, item A, will be the motion to approve an ordinance granting site plan approval, and for the Sterling Bay development at 1035 South Frontage Road. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Marquez. Discussion?
During our work session, we separated these out. If one fails, the other one will automatically fail too, correct? This will, just for clarification purposes?
Well, they're separate votes. One would, they go hand in hand, so without, if one fails and one passes, they still don't have the full approval from the city council.
Would that be true, John? Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask my questions now?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Yes.
For the city attorney, is it customary and/or reasonable to decline, for you to decline a plot consolidation if it's all the same ownership within an approved zoning classification for all 3 parcels?
Want me to answer that?
Yes.
Okay. What we have is a request for a site plan approval, as you know, which addresses the entire structure of the building, which is over several currently existing lots. Essentially, you're approving a building, and then the site plan just kind of follows along as kind of a perfunctory item to create that single lot on which you're then going to build that large building. So to approve one and not the other would, no question, be inconsistent.
But is it reasonable or customary
normally
to disapprove that?
Well, normally...
Counselor, you haven't been at some of these, but I was asked that question earlier. Us as a city have not, I can't recall actual consolidations. So I'm not sure if he's asking, you know, in our case or...
I can't answer that for the village.
Okay. Would this, in your opinion, be blocking a project within all rights and a violation of the owner's property rights to disapprove something within the zoning code?
I'm not, this isn't the place for me to answer that question.
It's a question.
That's a threat.
Please stop comments from the audience. Thank you. So I've divided it. The first approval is for the site plan. The next item would be for the consolidation. So the motion before you that's been approved by Alderman Belzic and Marquez is the approval for the site plan. Any discussion?
So here's my bone of contention. Last time we voted, residents spoke, I voted no. And I didn't know I was going to vote no until about 9:40 that evening. My only concern here, and I respect every person who's talked about stereogenics and asthma and everything else. I also know from a resident's standpoint that if we sit back here tonight and disallow a property owner to consolidate their property for the betterment of that property, then we can tend to set a precedence for future and to make it a lot difficult for all of our homeowners in the city of Darien, not just the people around the Great Dane property. So we got to be careful how we, move forward, because we're here tonight to vote on the plan and the consolidation of the property. As a realtor, I understand the dynamics of it. I also understand if there's a sales contract in place, and I don't think there's anybody out here. There's this Shelley who just moved here. I think back in March, I think you would have been a little upset to find out that something came up in your sales contract and prohibited you from purchasing your property. So I'm looking at it from both sides. As far as traffic and trucks and everything else that goes with it, it's my opinion, and don't boo me or anything. It's my opinion that if this project doesn't go in where it's currently at, then some of our other neighboring, neighbors, Woodbridge, Burridge, Willowbrook, will take on a project like this, and those same trucks are going to be coming right down I-55, are going to be coming right through us anyway. So just because we stop or we attempt to stop in your eyes, the residents' eyes, this project doesn't necessarily mean that the environment's going to be any safer. I'm just concerned that if we turn around, take a stance here today, and stop Sterling Bay from putting their facility in, that the city of Darien, not so much the city itself, but residents trying to sell their homes in the future, could also have problems. And that's all I got.
Couple quick unique comments. With regards to this property, it is next to Waterfall Glen. It is a jewel. It is a green space. So maybe Burr Ridge or maybe Willowbrook, they might build it. You're absolutely right, Joe. I agree 100%. But what makes this property unique is next to Waterfall Glen.
How about Hendricks? How about Hendrickson at Lamont Road and the frontage?
I interviewed there. It's an engineering facility. It's not a warehouse.
But they got bays and I've seen trucks outside.
You are correct, but it's an engineering facility. So it might have 2 trucks sitting there all day long. So it's an R&D center that has high-end research jobs, high-end engineering jobs. This is the warehouse. This is like $13 an hour jobs, but this is not what we're discussing here. So the reason I asked for the consolidation of the properties to be separate is just imagine you have a house and your neighbor decides to buy the 3 houses next to you. He has has to obey those ordinances. He has to have 40-foot setback when he has 3 properties. However, you consolidate those properties, you are essentially building a larger building than would have been allowed. So just imagine your neighbor buys 3 properties because they got 3 dilapidated houses. All of a sudden they come to city council and, hey, I own all 3 of these properties. I want to make a monster house. How do you think you're going to feel?
Are you addressing the city council or are the?
No, just in general.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. So
you're facing.
you're allowing to put a bigger building that would have been normally allowed. If you look at the city master plan, you look at our ordinances, we have required setbacks that have to be met. By consolidating these properties, you eliminate those setbacks, and you have a building that's significantly larger, being able to go into a property that would not have been able to go there. If they had to build on that single property, they'd have to keep 40-foot setbacks from all around. That's the reason we have those ordinances. That's why people should meet those ordinances. And that's why the master plan and plots were there, and that's why we asked for a separate vote on this, because I don't believe we should have set precedents by saying, hey, just because I buy a bunch of property, I can make a big McMansion at the end of the day.
Other comments? Alderman Belzic?
To that extent, then Lot 1 is virtually valueless because you can't get to it. If you don't allow them to combine, Lot 1 has 0 value. There's no access to frontage road. There's no access to anything. So basically, by not allowing it to happen, we're depriving the owner of the property of being able to sell Lot 1 for any value whatsoever, because it will have no value because you can't access it. And now we're taking property rights away from individuals.
They decide to buy that property.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Alderman McIver?
Could I ask a question of Sterling Bay?
Yes, go ahead.
What class of warehouse will this be now?
Oops.
Do I get timed on my answer?
No.
Okay, thank you. This isn't a truck facility.
Well, no, that was my question.
It's
I
a
asked-
Class A 30-foot clear storage and manufacturing light assembly office warehouse.
Okay, because...
Not cross dock, no trailer parking.
Well...
Less docks than typical for this type of a property, so it's not really attracting to the high volume type distributors that a 36 clear, 500,000 foot cross dock, 200 trailer parking outside, a lot of employee parking. It's a different type of user.
Right, because when the variance was brought up to us...
Don't leave.
Yeah, when the variance was brought to us a couple meetings ago, I mean, your firm was adamant that they needed the variance to be Class A, and I don't want to read what was in the letter, but basically that's what you said.
Right.
And then you came back and said, okay, never mind, we don't need the variance anymore, and now it's still Class A. So I feel a little bit...
that's a very good point. I'm glad I could address it. That was not just a minor speed bump for us and our partner. We have the same partner, Deutsche Bank, also known as Reef. They've been a partner of many firms that you're familiar with. And we had to go back to them and have serious conversations about, are we limiting our user pool? The answer is yes. That's a good thing. What are we attracting now? Probably a higher finished tenant. That's a good thing. So but that doesn't mean that they were on board originally. We convinced them, they got comfortable with it, and we're back with something that's a little bit more palatable for, I think, the residents and the city, and we can still get business done here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the words you used were unfit for Class A industrial warehouse use. Those were the words in this letter. Not you,
that
it was
wasn't,
you, Ron.
yeah.
Ron,
Okay.
Fran.
Okay.
What type of businesses do you foresee then in that Class A category that you've just talked about?
Sure, it could be, light assembly. We don't want a dirty use. We don't want a tire company. We don't want a Cerogenics. We don't want anything that, if you look at our tenant roster, C.H. Robinson, Dyson, SAP, Tyson, we attract, the type of product that we put out there attracts a certain user base. A tier of folks that I think you would love to have in your community. We love to have them in Fulton Market. We love to have them in suburban locations that we build in. And so we're not looking for this section that everyone's worried about. I can't get a project approved by my partner if I just explicitly write out, 12 uses that aren't acceptable. That's not how we do business. We can't get anything financed. But we think it's going to be a higher use, less traffic, no trailer storage outside, no excess trailer storage. other than the docks.
If a distributor for Amazon approaches you and says that we want to make that an Amazon distribution center, what's going to happen?
I don't think they would, but if they do, we'll have to look at their model. Right now, that's not their model.
Okay.
Their model is 40 clear, 2 mezzanines, 400 cars of employee parking. They've got everyone working on 3 levels. We're not doing a vertical project here.
Okay.
Different animal.
Alderman MacGyver?
Can I ask another question? The $50,000 to the city, how did that originate in terms of the,
That was actually some of my methodology and thinking, and part of that thinking was, if the project does get approved, we currently have bins on the border of the property. Those bins are utilized for stone, wood chips, dirt piles, several different types of dirt piles, water main break material. Currently what we use is concrete blocks. The concrete blocks are basically just stacked upon each other. Nothing scientific about it. We also have an opportunity, now we'll have that opportunity to build something, a concrete wall, and again, with limits. Is it going to be a straight section of concrete, or will we still have to utilize those blocks?
So the city made the request to Sterling Bay, or Sterling Bay offered it to the city?
We asked of them. We asked of them more things as well. One of the things was the sanitary sewer. We're currently on a septic system there. They have to bring, as part of the infrastructure, the sanitary to our lot line. So we'll have the opportunity in the future to hook up the sanitary sewer. Currently, we use septic systems there, and the brown water gets hauled out, whatever it is, once a month. In conjunction with that, we're also looking at improving some parking over there, parking against the salt storage building, making that eco-friendly for employees. We're out of space there.
Mayor, one thing for the council, I'm not sure that everybody's clear on, and maybe if the council wants, Dan can clarify it. The limits of the property in terms of uses. And we have a zoning code. Obviously, this would be permitted in that district, but there's still a number of zoning classifications in there that they would still need to abide by. While it doesn't list exact businesses, there's categories of business that maybe could occupy or not occupy the warehouse. And if the council's aware of that already, then there's no need to discuss it. But if there's questions that I think I've heard come up a couple of times.
I think I did ask about the 24-hour use. That is allowed.
Yeah, we don't have any
no
restrictions on
for time of day.
I noticed one.
Clarify what's not allowed.
Right. One of the more specific questions the code does address, and Alderman Klistic to bring it up, in our Municipal Services Committee was, in the event of a sterigenics, let's say somebody wants to come in and be able to use that type of process, use that type of chemical, what would happen is that would require a special use. So regardless if the building is there or not, the business would have to come in, request a license. They'll do their build out. While they're doing their build out, they'll also fill out the application and what the process will be. Staff will review it. Basically, it'll kick into a special use. That special use will have the ability to go through the Planning and Zoning Commission, Municipal Services, and then finally the City Council. So City Council will have that opportunity to not approve, facilities of that nature.
But would be in the same situation where the person that owns the building says, "Oh, you won't let us put sterigenics in here," similar to what we're in now, right?
That's not the case. I mean, if we're looking at a chemical, what is the chemical? What is the downside of the chemical? In this specific case, we all know about what's happened with sterigenics. If there's concerns out there, the City Council will have that opportunity to review that and deny that.
A gentleman mentioned that there's certain things they will or will not do. Could we have that in writing? Could we delay the vote and put that in writing, or no?
No.
No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Any other comments? Alderman MacGyver?
Another question for Sterling Bay. You guys can answer from the distance.
No, he can't.
Oh, okay.
He has to come up to the
That's
microphone.
fine. I didn't want to make him. It was kind of a quick question.
Our cameraman requires everyone to come up to the microphone to speak because
Apologies.
it's just too hard to catch the conversation in the room.
Matt, what's the, just does Sterling Bay generally hold on to these assets, or do they flip the assets? What's the kind of your historical?
We do. So I mentioned Deutsche Bank, which is obviously an international firm. At least 10%, if not 20% of the project, and this goes for a lot of our projects that we do, are owned locally through our principals at Sterling Bay or a fund of folks that are in this area, local people. And the model is to capitalize with, a big partner, but then hold on and manage it, lease it up, continue to upgrade it, asset manage it, and it just kind of goes through that cycle. So this is not a quick flip that we're proposing here. We like to see the whole cycle through and manage the property.
So I guess what's your average in terms of holding on to an asset? Like a warehouse?
It's more and more. Actually, our third fund that we're raising is called Build to Core. So these core locations, this is a great site for office warehouse. This is a core, irreplaceable asset that we want to hold on to.
Okay. So
the new money we're raising, a lot of it has to do with holding on, keeping a portion of ownership, management, et cetera.
So the warehouse on Lamont Road was flipped in a year.
That's not us.
I know it. So what I'm saying is I don't think you kind of answered the question of what's your average historically of a warehouse. Is it, you hold on to it for 3 years, you hold on to it 5 years, you hold on to it 12 months? I'm just...
Mr. Frayne could get into the nuances a little bit more of the industrial platform, but this is our second one out of the gate. We have mixed-use properties, we have retail, we have a lot of other things. This is industrial. He and I have worked on this product for the last 6 years. He's got 40 years of experience specifically in this area.
So this is the second warehouse
these
only?
two we have no plans of selling. It's for a build-to-core hold portfolio.
So this is just the second warehouse? I mean...
Ron's been here about a year.
Well, no, yeah, I think you just said that. This is your the second one in this
So far.
platform.
Yep.
And where's the other one?
It's in Aurora. Different, and that's a great example. That's a 550,000 square foot cross dock, excess trailer parking, more vehicle parking, different tenant, different user base. What?
Is it near a forest preserve?
They could be next to other natural elements. I think it's next to a cornfield.
The concern is, people use the forest preserve as green space. Studies have come out today showing that green space helps reduce breast cancer, helps reduce stress. So, this property is located in a very key prime area, and this is why you have so many concerned citizens. It comes down to profits or people at the end of the day.
I have not said this, but you know what else is inside Waterfall Glen? Argonne National Laboratory.
Is there any other questions from the council? All right, I'd like to call the vote, please.
Okay. Belzak?
Aye.
Marquez?
Aye.
Kenny?
Aye.
Clistic?
Nay.
McIver?
Nay.
Shower?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Nay.
I have 4 ayes and 3 nays.
The motion has been approved. The next item is item B. Do you want to pass out that motion? I think I've got one here. Okay.
Maybe John should give an overview of what it is. Is that
Sure, that's fine. Item B is a motion to approve the plat of consolidation for the property known as 1035 South Frontage Road. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Shower. John, do you want to address?
Sure. What this does is it consolidates the current lots that are out there into one zoning lot, and there's a benefit of that both from tax assessment standpoint and also from, it's just easier to deal with one zoning lot if it's going to be filled with one large building. It's really just kind of perfunctory item which follows through naturally with the site plan that was just approved.
All right, so we have a motion or a seconder. Is there any questions on this this motion?
Yes, for the attorney, you mentioned follows naturally, but are you legally required to approve?
Yes, I think it would not be a rational action to approve the site plan with one big building on these lots and then not to approve the consolidation.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Then the roll, please.
Belzak.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Matt, you better not let me down. Aye.
Clistic.
Nay.
McIver.
Nay.
Vaughn.
Nay.
4 ayes and 3 nays.
The motion has been approved. Let's move to the next item on the agenda. We changed it to item C. Is it motion to approve a resolution stating the position of the mayor and city council regarding Sterigenics, Willowbrook, Illinois? Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman McIver, seconded by Alderman Kenny. I think it's pretty clear as to what our stance is. Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, this is ongoing almost daily, as you know, because you've been involved. I was at a meeting with the EPA this past week, and
Brian, what day was that? I was just curious.
It was Friday, the 28th.
It was Friday, yes.
Oh, okay.
It was Friday.
Okay.
Yes, and there's a meeting coming forward, kind of a regional meeting again. They had one, but it was really more sponsored by Willowbrook. The EPA is looking to come out, hopefully, and make an announcement within a month of a meeting they're going to sponsor, probably in Burr Ridge, because they have some hotels there to accommodate a big group. But at this point, at least from that meeting we were in, the EPA was not going to take any action to revoke permits. There is some discussion among Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan's office and the Illinois EPA, but they're discussions. We don't know any outcome of those. The whole thing, again, it seems to move every day. We're trying to keep on top of it, either through Willowbrook or things like this, or the EPA meetings. But obviously, no matter what we hear, as soon as we do, we'll certainly pass that on in terms of public meetings.
What about this meeting that was canceled tomorrow, that was supposed to be held?
Yeah.
Was
today.
that Mr. Hart? Was that Mr. Hart that was holding that? The county board member holding that meeting?
This was a state, I think.
This is a state.
It was this was
I will have to find out. I was not aware.
This was a state meeting, and John Curran put a statement out this afternoon, quite upset and asking for this to be scheduled right away as soon as possible, and there was no response to that.
Well, now the meeting on September 28th was contained to just elected officials. And since I was out of the country, that's why Brian attended that meeting. But from that meeting, we should be hearing about a more open meeting.
And I'll look into the issue with the state and find out why that was canceled.
Alderman McIver?
One of the things I was hoping that we could do as kind of the city and being kind of the natural leader in our community is to make sure that we include other local government agencies like the Park District and the school districts, maybe even the chamber, and maybe, I don't know, Brian, if that information can be filtered to those entities on as communication comes out to us, because I think especially if there's a community forum being planned, I think it's important to make sure that they're aware of it and have the ability to participate and get the same information that we're getting.
Yeah, some of the we've been sending out information to the districts. I've talked to a couple of the districts, and we certainly would include them in any information we receive about any public meetings for sure. And
but the chamber had any kind of interest in this matter?
I haven't talked to the chamber about it, and so I have not talked to them, about that in terms of interaction. But we'll certainly keep the local taxing bodies involved. Some are involved, obviously the school's involved, and there is some. EPA has said they're going to be doing some ambient air testing. But again, what all that means until we really see the plan that this ambient air testing plan that hopefully will come out sooner than later, hopefully within the next month. It'll get more information we could pass out to the council and then to the citizens and businesses.
Brian, somebody mentioned tonight property values with regard to the warehouse. Last week at Municipal Services, we had a woman come in and talked about property values with regard to Sterigenics. A lot of people out there are really angry that this is going on in their community. And I think this move tonight, this resolution, is a good resolution. But I really think the city, I think Sylvia's got a good idea in terms of bringing other bodies into it. Somehow this message has to get out there that we're about as angry as our residents are and as worried as our residents are with regard to this. And I think that we are the leaders of the community, and we need to express that. We did that tonight with this statement. Basically, this kind of mimics DuPage County Board saying, you know, no operating license until you prove this is not hitting us in our community. There seems to me there has to be more that we can do. I think the letter you signed with Mayor Trilla and Mayor Straub was excellent, but a lot of people don't know that. You know, I hope
we'll get it out in direct connect. I mean, people just have to get involved and find out what's going on. You know, that's the bottom line. You can't sit by and just let somebody come and tell you what's going on. You've got to go out and get the information.
You know, it seems like every time they set up a meeting or they're doing something, it gets to a certain point in the hierarchy in government in Illinois, and then it just stops. You know, like this meeting today that was canceled. Well, it stopped at that point. Well, what's going to happen now? You know, when is the state legislature going to, you know, I just don't care about ceasing operations of Sterigenics. I'd like to see ethylene oxide banned in the state of Illinois. You know, why can't we do that? Why can't we press for that?
I've sent a memo out looking to see if we can ban it in the city, so I think we need to look at ourselves before we start pointing fingers at other locations and see what we can control here. So there was a memo I sent out to the group to see what we can do. Working together. I don't know, Brian, if you had a chance, I know you're very busy, but what would be the next steps for us?
We can address that. Yeah. We can address it.
Okay. Well, I think you're asking the next step. I mean,
correct. Yeah.
It would be, you know, it would really be working with our city attorney, because it would, if it's part of the zoning ordinance, it would require a public hearing, and there's a little more time process than if it was just a local ordinance. But it should be part of the zoning ordinance. Like some of the restrictions now, we talked about that. There's explosives in there. You can't have. So there are a number of things. You know, what's the best way to write that? Being so many chemicals out there, it would just take some research on our part.
Okay.
We'd sit with the city attorney, and you know, we do what we do in a lot of cases. We'd look to other communities for codes that are that maybe meet the goal of the council in terms of that specific issue.
We might have to be first on this one.
Well, and you know, to that point, we talked about maybe having, you know, if we're going to go down that path, it may be worthwhile hiring an environmental consultant who can help us with the most current, you know, because you know these things come up and change over time, obviously, and so, you know, having someone that might be able to advise us on that regard would be probably helpful if we're going to go ahead and change the zoning code with respect to the chemicals.
Well, apart from the zoning code, I think the council at some point, again, should have a discussion in what our role is with Willowbrook and with some of the other communities that are fighting this, because issues like this are our strength in numbers, and that's for sure. But I've also heard a couple comments that there might be a conflict between us and Willowbrook. So I really think the council that came up at a previous meeting. So you're kind of making a face, but that
no, I don't remember the conflict with Willowbrook.
Well, in terms of us not being independent during our whole review process.
I think we're responsible for our own community, our own residents, our own health and well-being. And so I think at that time we were kind of catching up mode. So I think we were kind of counting on Willowbrook to provide us the information because they had the most current information. But I think as we, if we're looking forward and kind of looking at how do we protect our community from having something like this not happen in our community, something we can control, then what I'm saying is if we're going to, go out there and say, okay, well, we should ban the use of these chemicals, I think we should have someone who is an expert.
Oh, I agree. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, there are really two issues. One is our ordinance.
Yes, that's
we'll
what I'm
definitely, Dan and I are not going to be the ones writing this ordinance,
Right.
nor are the elected officials. We're going to get somebody who knows about this and can
That's
work
what I
and
was
write
referring
this.
to.
Correct. What I'm suggesting is, at some point, I think the city, in part of the position, really needs to decide how close we want to work with our neighboring communities, because I really, on issues like this, there are strength in numbers in terms of this specific location. But that's, I guess, for another day for the council to discuss that. Tom, you were talking about the ordinance, and
correct.
so we can move forward with that bit. And in the interim, we'll still be following and talking to our neighboring communities. Mayor talks
to Mayor
Kathy,
Trilla.
You've
yeah,
talked to Mayor Trilla a number of times. You know, they were
Maybe
well
that's something
represented.
for our work session to talk about. We're talking about having something in the next month.
Oh, it's definitely, yeah, depending on our timing, is definitely the subject. It probably, you know, that would probably be a large portion of it, depending on what we have at the time.
So add that to my agenda.
You're already making recommendations for goal setting?
Yeah.
Good. You should.
Good. We usually
That
get
went out
stymied.
today, actually,
Yeah.
right? So-
We usually get stymied
I saw that today,
on recommendations, so. All right, if there's questions, any questions and comments from the council?
No, we haven't taken.
Oh,
a
I'm
vote.
sorry, I'm already moving ahead. We have a motioner and seconder on the resolution stating our opinion on Sterigenics. Any other discussion? Then the roll, please.
MacIver.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
Kenny. I'm sorry.
Can't vote twice.
Marquez.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
7 ayes and no nays.
The resolution has been approved. Questions, comments, and announcements first from the Alderman. Alderman Marquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Today, Clerk Regona and Alderman Kennedy and I had the privilege of attending the dedication of the National Shrine for St. Therese off of Bailey Road. And we were complimented, the city of Darien was complimented by the staff. I think the project manager came up to us and told us that the city of Darien was extremely helpful in getting that project built. They only wish the Army Corps of Engineers was as helpful
We know that for a fact.
as we were. But she was very happy to have us there, and it really gave you pause to think that in the city of Darien, we have a national shrine that will bring pilgrims to our community. People, from a financial standpoint, they're going to spend money in the city of Darien. But the fact that we have, we talk about warehouses, we talk about businesses, we really should celebrate the fact that we have this facility here in Darien. So I enjoyed myself. I think Clerk Regona and Alderman Kenny also enjoyed themselves. They were very hospitable, and it was a very nice day.
Well, I don't know if you ever picked up that magazine about DuPage County. All the mayors have paragraphs in there about, and in my paragraph, I identify the National Shrine, and we also have Suchi, another religious facility here in Darien, which are major. They're visited by. We have visitors all the time for these facilities, and they're in Darien. So we are very proud of what we have in Darien. Yes. Yes.
I have one item. Paint the Town Pink will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, October the 2nd. Unfortunately, we were rained out on last Friday due to inclement weather. We will have the lighting of the pink ribbons on the clock tower starting at 6:30. Please come out to support. It's for cancer awareness and also to support cancer survivors and patients. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, comments, and announcements from anyone in the audience? Then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman MacIver, seconded by Alderman Vaughn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, John,